The leak is the game is canceled. No, not actually. That's not the leak. You know, we have actual leaks from Football Manager. The first, I believe, the first piece of actionable intel about the new Football Manager that we've had in a very long time. And you will see why I think there's some truth to it. I really do think there's some truth to it, but I'm going to show you my sources. I'm not the source. Yeah, the leaks are legit. It seems. You can be the judge for yourself. I'm going to show you everything that I know. You know, FM Console's the person that dropped the video initially about this. It is an 11-minute, 44-second video that starts with a painfully blurry close-up of the dude's face, but I promise we're heading somewhere important. For Twitch, I'm going to turn the music off. All right, this
Football Manager.
Football Manager leaks, right? Here we go.
Are ripping up the tactic roles as we know it. It's according to FMDB, it's been posted on the SI forums yesterday. It seems legit, and it seems to confirm a rumor that came out for FM25. There's going to be in and out of possession roles.
Let me see if I can find the SI forums. I think we found the original post, because I know I found this video talking about the post. I think we just found we found it. We found the original post. That other post was a reply to it. Maybe if I just click on it, I'm bad at forums. Maybe if I just click on it, it'll take me to it. Where's the original post? They deleted the original? The SI forum admins deleted the original? Oh, yo. All right, let's read it. Let's read it before it gets yeeted. The original post is, I was looking through the FMDB website files. For those that don't know, FMDB, as far as is actually connected to the game, right? It's like the database of the game, to see if there's still a way to see the covered leagues list, and I stumbled upon this translation file. Nothing particularly interesting in there until you see the best roles description property. It has a full list of positions. They match up with the ones that were revealed for FM25 by Sorted Out SI last year, plus quite a few new ones. So a smaller leak from last year that was unverified, or is re-verified here. It also has descriptions for each one, which don't think was previously available. So the leak, chat, the Football Manager leak, is that somebody in the files found a translation file that is like translating all of the roles and the descriptions. Is there a dark mode to this? Not so much a leak. It's not a hack. It's just somebody going through publicly available files and finding something that I would assume SI did not want to be there. All right, so the new roles, there are a ton of them. Goalkeeper, obviously. Line-holding goalkeeper. Here's how we should process this information. We're obviously going to go through and read all of the roles and react to them. This is found, I believe they said in FM25, or no. Look in the FDB website files, see if there's still a way to get the covered leagues list to try and see what leagues were going to be in the game. So we don't know if this is what they plan for FM26, but at some point in the game's development, all of these roles were being translated, like were being processed in a translation file. That seems to be pretty verifiable. That's what we know, right? They've linked the actual file here, the JSON. So we don't know if all these are going to be there at the end, but we know that these roles were being processed enough that they were being translated for the game. Line-holding keeper. The line-holding keeper is a goalkeeper who primarily looks to stay within the confines of their own box, leaving the job of defending higher up the pitch to their teammates. I guess goalkeeper's like box-to-box midfielder in this case now, because you have a line-holding goalkeeper who stays in their box, and then no-nonsense goalkeeper. Cautious approach, stays near to the goal, and takes as few risks as possible with the ball. So you have like goalkeeper, line-holding goalkeeper, no-nonsense. Goalkeeper's like average now. No-nonsense goalkeeper, line-holding goalkeeper, sweeper keeper, which has obviously been there before, and ball-playing goalkeeper. The Ederson role, the Neuer role. Looks to play an active role in the team's build-up, often moving out of their goal to be in position to receive the ball. Requires exceptional technical ability with the ball at their feet. The ball-playing goalkeeper looks to act as an additional outfield player at times in order to help their team play through an opposition press. 5 goalkeeper roles, bro. 5 goalkeeper roles. No, this looks good. Like, I don't know why they'd be deleting this from the forums. I mean, I know they want to announce stuff the right way, but like, dude. Oh, there's an overlapping center back. So center back, no nonsense center back. And then there's a whole role for covering and stopping. So maybe mentality's not in anymore. Because these are roles. So you used to be able to tell your center backs to like cover and stop. You have ball playing center back. Obviously, that was in before. So a covering center back, the center backs has to adopt a more cautious approach, holding their line and waiting to react. I can think of a lot of use cases for this, chat. I can think of a lot of use cases for this. Have they got, I don't know if they've gotten rid of mentalities. That's what I was speculating. Maybe you still have like a defend, support, and then maybe attack on like advanced center back. We haven't even gotten there. But there's a lot of use cases for this, like covering center backs. You could use those if you don't want your team to jump in. As a stopper, the center backs has to be more willing to step out from position to hassle and engage opposition attackers in an attempt to cut out attacks at the source. Right. Ball playing's obviously been in before. Then there's overlapping center backs. The main job of the overlapping center back is to provide protection to the team. Hold on, I gotta mute that while I'm reading. The main job of the overlapping center back is to provide protection to the team, being in a position where they can be ready to react to attacking threats when the ball is turned over. So this isn't an offensive role. It provides protection to the team. However, in possession, they are instructed to be more adventurous, often getting in crossing positions by making overlapping runs into the final third. To provide protection to the team, being in a position when they're ready to react to attacking threats when the ball's turned over. So it's talking about defensive responsibility in the first half of this. I don't know if I even really understand that. It's Bastoni, basically. Just a wide center back from it, yeah, I guess. From like a central center back position. Just a wide, yeah, they're like stopping attacks on the wing, right? The main job of the advanced center back is to provide protection to the team, being in a position where he can be ready to react to attacking threats in the ball. Like it's the same as the other one. However, the advanced center back is a specialist role. I love this. I love the use of this word. I love it. All right. Acting as a traditional central defender during deep buildup before then moving forward into a defensive midfield position as the team progresses. Because of this, the role requires exceptional technical and mental skills you'd typically find at a midfielder. It's also important to ensure the team has sufficient coverage, typically through the use of an inverted fullback. Nice. Okay, so that is libero, though. Wide center backs. Bro, there's so many roles. Obviously, you've got your classic wide center back, which has existed before. Then there is covering and stopping wide center back. So they've taken that out, and they've thrown that in. Wide center back's normal. Covering wide center back. Yeah, I mean, it's just a wide... It's the same as the stopping and covering center backs that we saw earlier, but just from the wide center back position. So there's actually nothing revolutionary there. I'm expecting some wild stuff from fullbacks, though. So we got our normal fullback. There's no wingbacks. I see what they did, dude. Fullback is different. Fullback is different, dude. Fullback is different. Like, this is from the fullback position. Obviously, from the wingback position, we're going to get, like, wingbacks. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about from the fullback position. The fullback is now way more offensive. The fullback's a key player in modern football, having to supplement their traditional defensive duties with overlapping runs down the wing to support forward play and help attacks overload the final third. Primarily a defensive player, they must be prepared to get forward when the team needs extra width. Holding fullback is like what fullback is in the game now, I would imagine. As a fullback, like at least not fullback on attack, right? As a holder, the fullback is asked to hold a deeper position while their team is defending higher up the pitch in order to provide additional protection against direct attacks. As the team are pressing the opposition during the early phases, the player looks to remain in their position more, allowing their teammates to play more aggressively, knowing there's protection behind them. Then, of course, there's inside fullback, and there's also inverted fullback. I have no idea what the difference is going to be between these two. We'll start with inside fullback. So fullback is going to be a little more expansive, I think. Because there's no wingback or complete wingback from the fullback positions anymore. At least that's what it's looking like right here. Inside fullback. The inside fullback is a specialist role that moves to become an extra central defender during the attack. All right. Often used by teams to provide additional protection against counterattacks. So they're kind of the same thing right now. The inside fullback will initially position as a traditional fullback, but during early buildup before tucking inside to act as an additional center back as their team progresses. Okay. Inverted fullback is a specialist role that moves to become an extra central defender during attack. Often used by teams to provide additional protection against counterattacks, the inverted fullback will initially position as a... Yeah, it's either a copy error, they're not finished, or they forgot to delete one as part of the translation thing. Yeah, these are the same things. I don't think you're going to end up with both of these in the game, if I had to guess. But now pressing fullback. As a presser, the fullback is asked to actively engage opposition-wide players high up the pitch to support the team's press. The player will often take a higher starting position during early phases of the attack of the opposition in order to be in a better position to engage players ahead of them. Because of this higher positioning, it's important to ensure that there's enough defensive cover behind them from their teammates. So this is like gegenpress dream. Like, let's say you're playing with a ball winning on defend or an anchor man or something, assuming those are still in the game in the middle. You could have pressing fullbacks and then have your kind of wings or whatever if it's 3-striker formation. Honestly, this makes narrow formations even better. No cap, for real, bussin'. This makes narrow formations even better. Because if you play narrow, now you can have a pressing fullback from deep and they can go up and like actively engage, but then drop all the way back to their net, like, because their position is fullback. But they can go up and engage, and you can really put crazy pressure on a team. Whoa! From the wingback position, you've got options. 5 at the back is going crazy now. Wingback position has options with a capital options. FM Console's like, I told you. Well, I mean, I think it's just because of the increased prevalence of 5 at the back tactics in real life. Like, there's more and more 5 at the back tactics in real life. And so I think that they've really overhauled the way you can play. So I'm assuming inside and inverted wingbacks are going to be the same thing. Yeah. The copy is the same for both of these, but you've got your traditional wingback. You've got your holding wingback. Hold a deeper position while the team's defending high in order to provide additional protection against direct attacks. Allows the rest of the team to press, knowing that there's, you put this behind maybe a Metsala type midfielder or something that's pressing way up. Pressing wingback, right? This is the same thing as the fullback position, but just starting from a higher place, right? Looking to go way up the field, engage the other players. Playmaking wingback. So you can put a playmaker at the wingback position. This is your Trent Alexander-Arnold role. Similarly, inverted wingback. Okay, the playmaking wingback will look to move into the central areas of the pitch to support central passing networks, as well as providing vital protection against central counterattacks. However, the playmaking wingback is expected to act as a central hub of the team's passing, playing progressive passes, through balls, and dangerous crosses into the box. The playmaking wingback has a much more emphasis to get on the ball and create chances, more so than like an inverted wingback, which means they require a very high level of technical ability in order to be effective in this role. That makes sense. And then advanced wingbacks complete wingback on attack. Let's see. Positions more aggressively than traditional wingback, looking to play high and wide as much as possible. As their team, this is basically a winger. Building play from deep, the advanced wingback doesn't drop back alongside their defenders, instead positioning high up the pitch like a wide midfielder. As play progresses, they're expected to get forward to join the attack. It doesn't feel like a complete wingback on attack. Complete wingbacks were more like playmaking wingbacks with their creative freedom. This is just a winger. Defensive midfielders. I love the terminology, dude. I love the terminology. We have our defensive midfielder, which there's always going to be that role, just basic, put the guy there. Dropping defensive midfielder. Dude, they have really overhauled the roles, dude. Dropping is halfback, but there's also halfback. And it's definitely not the same text. So these are different things. So dropping defensive midfielder will look to move back into the defensive line as their team are pinned back in their own defensive third, acting as an additional center back. During the earlier phases of opposition attack, the player will act as a more traditional defensive midfielder, okay? Now let's read halfback, because that should be the same. The halfback's a defensive midfielder who drops to the defensive line to build up play and help progress the ball forward and provide defensive stability. A halfback is typically used by teams with 2 central defenders in order to ensure they have 3 players in front of the opposition press when playing out of defense. The idea being this makes the team more press resistant, particularly against teams that press for the front 2. When used centrally, the halfback will drop between the central defenders. However, when used inside defensive midfield positions, the halfback will drop to the side of either central defender, making that like right or left center back a more central. Okay. This sounds like they're more proactive with it. Where a dropping defensive midfielder is just somebody that, like, when your team's really under pressure, they drop in and try and help, right? Where the halfback is like a better player, basically. Where a dropping midfielder is just it's more of a tactical idea that you want your midfielder to drop into your center backs when your team's under intense pressure. All right, let's look at the other ones. You got screening. So is this just as a screener, the main responsibility is defend the space. Love it. Love it! Finally, something that's not anchor man, that's just screening the space in front of the central defenders. They're less likely to leave their position to press, looking to protect their zone. So you're just locking them in that zone in front of the central defenders. I am going to use screening defensive midfielder so much. They don't drop in to the defensive line. They screen out their zone. There's no ball winner also, so I'd imagine that's closest as you're going to get to the ball winner. But they're not looking to press out of their zone. They're not going to float too far out of their zone. They're going to stay there. Dropping on defend. Yeah, they're like a halfback. And then I like how you can play halfbacks out. Like if you have a halfback centrally, they drop between. But it tells you exactly what happens if you have a halfback on the outside. I like that. I do like that. Wide covering defensive midfielder. Goodness. So this is a Carolero from DM. As a wide cover, the defensive midfielder is asked to provide defensive support in wide areas, moving across from their typical position to help their team defend against wide threats. This means that when the opposition attack the flanks on their side, instead of protecting central areas more like a traditional midfielder or a screening midfielder, the player will look to shift across and support their fullback, often doubling up on the opposition's wide attacking threats. So this would be good if you're playing against a superstar winger because you can double up the opposition's wide attacking. You already have like a fullback out there or something. Pressing defensive midfielder. Kind of scary. Maybe you could put like a pressing and a screener.
Had to come over from YouTube to hear the music.
As a presser, the defensive midfielder is tasked with stepping forward from their position to support the team's press high up the pitch. The player will often take up a higher starting position during early phases of the opposition attack in order to be in a better position to engage players ahead of them. Because of this higher position, it's important to ensure that there's enough defensive cover behind them from their teammates. So this is an aggressive pressing position, then you got a deep-lying playmaker. You know what I'm kind of missing on this? Where's your Segundo Volantes and your Regista? You got our deep-lying playmaker, our Dilp here. Yeah, the only creative, I mean, halfback's creative, but it's a deeper creative role than deep-lying playmaker. Okay, central midfielders. I'm assuming this gets insane. Okay, channel. Did I just miss Salah? There's a box-to-box playmaker, dude. And midfield. Okay, there's a lot going on here. We've got our normal central midfielder role. We've got a screening central midfielder. Tries not to be drawn out of position too much and tries to block passing lanes through the middle of the pitch. We've got our Carolero, which is now the wide covering midfielder. Okay. So you've got your central midfielder, your screening midfielder, your wide covering central midfielder, right? Box to box. The nonstop, somebody got really hopped up on Mountain Dew before writing the box-to-box midfielder description. The nonstop dynamism of the box-to-box midfielder enables them to contribute greatly to both build-up and final third attacking play. During build-up, they position as a traditional defensive midfield player, offering passing options, right? Yeah, we know what a box-to-box is, but what's a box-to-box playmaker? They didn't even change the... They changed the name, but they didn't change it in the description yet on this leak. It literally still says the roaming playmaker. So box-to-box playmaker is a roaming playmaker. Looking to be creative. I think they've changed the names to be more obvious, like Mexala, Segundo Volante, Regista. All of those things are not very obvious, right? What's a midfield playmaker? What else are you going to do in the mid? Well, I mean, all these things. Screening, central, like base, screening. Base is basically whatever your tactic is telling them to do. Wide covering, box to box, really dedicated to covering as much space as possible. You get your roaming playmaker. Yeah, but they just didn't change the name in the actual description yet. Channel midfielder. Looks primarily to make supportive runs into wide areas. This is the Mitsala. They've renamed it. Encouraged to make attacking runs into the channels behind the opposition defense, looking to get into dangerous crossing positions and providing underlaps for their wide teammates. We love a channel midfielder. Then there's midfield playmaker. This is totally new. This isn't like a rebranded anything. So the midfield playmaker, all right? Operates as a creative link between defense and attack, looking to play progressive passes and killer balls to attacking teammates to initiate attacks for their team. During earlier phases of attack, the midfield playmaker positions in central midfield, looking to receive progressive passes from their defenders and defensive midfielders. They then look later to push into an attacking midfield position as their team enters the final third. This is the advanced playmaker, actually. I said it wasn't rebranded, but it totally is. I'm not seeing anything new here. Carrilero, screening is new, and pressing is new. But, yeah, this is advanced playmaker. This is Mitsala. This is roaming playmaker. All right. As a presser, the central midfielder is encouraged to step forward more often to support their team's higher press. So, like, out of a 4-3-3, I feel like you'd want to have one of these guys to get further up the field, to help the two wingers and the striker close people down, right? Pressing is not ball winning. This is supporting the team's press higher up the pitch. This doesn't feel like ball winning to me. Screening is probably more like that, but they don't leave their position. There really isn't a pure translation of ball winning anymore. No, box-to-box playmaker is more, like midfield playmaker is a more aggressive role than box-to-box playmaker. GG. GG, chat. No ball winners. GG. GG. No ball winning midfielders, chat. Wide midfielders. We have wide midfielder, which has always existed and always been kind of weird. Then we've got wide. Where's winger? All right, tracking wide midfielder. That's the first time we've seen the word tracking. As a tracker, the wide midfielder is instructed to track back defensively as the opposition advance in order to support the defenders behind them, even dropping into the back line as an additional defender. I know what this is. This is like a cooler version of defensive winger. But where they're able to actually be, like, let's say you have a back four, but then your tracking midfielder turns it into a back five when you're under pressure. You know what I mean? Like, if you played a 3-5-2, but with actual midfielders, that would work because these guys would track back when you're under pressure. I think the way this is worded, it's like I like it better than what defensive wingers were. I mean, in a 4-4-2, if you had two tracking wingers, you could have like a back six under pressure. That'd be hilarious. Park the tank! Park the tank! All right, I like tracking midfielder anyways. Wide central midfielder. How's that different from a wide midfielder? The wide central midfielder is a supporting role typically utilized at the side of a midfield pairing or three, and is responsible for providing an industrious and versatile link between the defense and the attack. Wide central midfielders operate wider than traditional central midfield players. Really? Making themselves a better option for diagonal passes. Oh, this is like in the channel. I love this. I love this. This is like a channel player. This is somebody that like... No, we're in wide midfielders. This is the Carrilero has been rebranded to wide covering central midfielder. Wide central midfielder is basically somebody that sits in the channel as an outlet. And then there's the wide outlet midfielder, which I would imagine is the inverse of that. As a wide outlet, the wide midfielder is asked to avoid tracking back to help out the fullback behind them, instead looking to hold their position in order to be more dangerous for a counterattack when the ball turns over. Because they don't do as much defensive work, it's often important to ensure that the team aren't exposed on their flank by asking nearby midfielders to play a covering role for them. Oh, this is like really aggressive. So they'll just sit here and they won't really track back like when this fullback comes up, they won't follow, but they'll stay up here. So if you've got, yeah, this is just like winger on attack or something. It's a different take on it. But what they're saying is you probably want to get like a midfield, like maybe you have a wide covering defensive midfielder, or maybe you have a wide covering central midfielder that helps cover for them. But then when you win the ball, you can counter quickly. Whee! Attacking midfielders. New roles in the attacking midfielder spot. There's obviously the old one, the attacking midfielder, the basic attacking midfielder. Right here, we've got our normal attacking midfielder, tracking attacking midfielder. Defensively? As a tracker, the attacking midfielder is instructed to track back defensively as the opposition advances into their own defensive third to support the defenders behind them, dropping into a deeper defensive position. The player is expected to actively support the team defensively. They drop to central midfield, basically. They drop to central midfield, basically, like when you don't have the ball. But when you have the ball, this is kind of what you hoped center mids in attack would be sometimes, or like maybe an advanced playmaker, but in reverse. Where this person plays as a 10, but then drops out of the 10 role when you go back. These descriptions make me think you can choose 2 roles. Wasn't that a thing? Wasn't that one of those like unsubstantiated leaks that there would be attacking and defending roles? Or am I huffing paint? It confirms out of possession by purely tracking back. So you're saying this role confirms that, like, that speculation that there's offensive and defensive roles. Yeah, that's still on Reddit. Okay, so I'm not making that up. Yeah, okay. So you can have could you have like an advanced playmaker who's a tracker? Or what if you select I want a tracker, and then that grays out some of the offensive options? Like, oh, you can only be this offensive option if you are a tracker, or one of 2. But I like the idea of a tracker. That's definitely very cool. They drop back into that central midfield role. You got your advanced playmaker. That's pretty classic, right in the attacking midfield spot. Central outlet attacking midfielder. As a central outlet, the attacking midfielder is asked to avoid tracking back. Okay, so this would be like a defensive role. This is not tracking. They don't track back to help defenders. Instead, they look to hold their position in order to be dangerous for a counterattack when the ball turns over. So they stay further up the field. Because they don't do as much defensive work, it's important to ensure the team have enough defensive cover behind them. A splitting outlet, so this is different, splitting outlet attacking midfielder. The attacking midfielder is asked to avoid tracking back to help the defenders, instead looking to hold a higher position, right? As the opposition progresses play, the player also looks to drift into the channels. So they stay up. So this is a very specific type of role. Like, let's say you're playing a 4-2-3-1, right? And one of your double pivot is supposed to make a run forward so that you're essentially a 4-1-4-1 when you're in attack. Then you want a splitting guy because he'll float into a channel and open up the other channel for that guy. This allows them to start counterattacks from wide, usually with the aim to exploit the space often found in more central areas of the pitch. Okay, so this is like a Metsala attacking midfielder, basically. This is going to confuse Lelujo so much, he'll just be able to quick pick, dude. He'll just be able to quick pick. Look at free roll, that's Trequartista? Probably. I would assume so. The player with a free roll is given full creative license, allowing them to roam from their position to create attacking opportunities for their team, but also allowing them to take more risks with the ball in an attempt to create and score goals. Yeah, no shadow striker. That's true. There's no, maybe that would just be an attacking midfielder with an attack on. Close enough. Yeah, then there's the free. I'm going to read the free roll just in case it's different. The player with a free roll is given full creative license, allowing them to roam from their position to create attacking opportunities for their team, but also allowing them to take more risks with the ball in an attempt to create and score goals. Okay, this is just this is like a free roaming Trequartista-ish. Because of the freedom they're allowed, the free roll is less likely to follow the team's explicit instructions and will break the team's structure at times. However, their unpredictability and creativity can help unlock defenses. Pretty nice. All right, winger roles. I think at this point, now that we've gotten to the wingers, we get kind of an idea of the types of roles that they were hoping to introduce. You've still got normal winger, and you've got... Okay, well, one at a time. Half-space winger. The half-space winger is a wide role that frequently drifts inside into half spaces as the team attacks to open up space for overlapping teammates, like center backs, and to receive the ball in more central areas of the pitch. Half-space winger works best when combined with an attacking fullback or wingback that hugs the sideline. Not only does the half-space winger look to combine with an overlapping... So, I would put Bruno Fernandes on this if I was playing a 5 at the back. That type of player that can play wide, but you want them floating into a Metsala type space so that they're dangerous towards the goal. No, this is not an inverted winger, chat. This is likely an inverted winger. The half space winger is not an inverted winger. This is somebody that's going to come fully into they're not going to dribble their way into the channels. They're going to be in the channel. Cole Palmer? Yeah, I think Cole Palmer would be really good at this. He would definitely be really good at this. Inside forward on support? Maybe. It's the exact same thing, an inside winger. Oh, we ran into this once earlier where the text was the same. Clearly, it's not a finalized list that they've managed to pull from this translation file. Clearly, it's not a finalized list. But this is the exact same text on inside winger. So maybe they just haven't decided what they want to name it yet. Inside winger or half space winger. Then there's the inverting outlet winger, which just sounds like an orgy of words. The inverting outlet winger. An inverting outlet winger is asked to avoid tracking back to help out the fullback. Oh, this is like a defensive role. I'm starting to pick it up now. This is a defensive role, right? If you have offensive and defensive, this would be a defensive role. All right, because we're talking about avoid tracking back. Instead, looking to hold their position in order to be more dangerous for counterattacking balls. As the opposition progresses, the inverting outlet winger looks to drift into central areas. So this is your defensive role that would pair well with a half-space winger. That's my guess, right? Because they're inverted from their position as you transition into the attack, but they stay up the field as an outlet to start the counter. And then here's your tracking winger. This would be somebody that just like comes back, right? Wide outlet winger would just be the opposite of the inverting outlet winger. This is a winger that does not look to cut inside as the play transitions to the attack. Then we have wide playmaker. Primary source of creativity for the team. Starting from a wide position during the build-up before drifting into find space from which to play killer balls. My friend was in the
military, but refuses to mention his rank. Apparently, it's private.
Oh, B-. That was all right, dude. That was all right. All right, wide playmaker. This is different than the half-space winger because this is, you're looking for killer balls, primary source of creativity for the team. Coming in from the wing allows the wide playmaker to escape the hustle and bustle of central midfield and can result in them finding open pockets of space in the half spaces as they move inside. I like the way that's worded. Wide forward. Here's your inside forward, maybe. No. Oh, this might be one of my favorite roles then. The wide forward's expected to provide width through the attack, looking to stretch the opposition defense and attacking from near the sidelines. However, the wide forward is also primarily an offensive role that looks to attack the box and make dangerous runs behind the opposition defense in the final. Excellent role. Huge fan of the wide forward. Then there's the inside forward, which is your nice traditional inside forward role. So I love the idea of a wide forward. This is a winger that's pushing the line. Finally, we're at the forwards. Goodness gracious. There's so many. We have a false nine, normal, deep lying forward. Now we have a half space forward. So I'm guessing this is different than the false nine and everything else, right? It's a wide roll. Wide roll. I guess, can you only do this if you're... These roles aren't set to positions in the file. This is done by the person that shared it, is like putting it in different sections. Okay, so half space forward might be...
forehead looking lovely today.
Like on winger
romantic
instead of
face
striker.
Emoji.
This might be like on a winger instead of a striker, in which case that's cool. Half space forward's primarily an offensive role which looks to attack the spaces behind the opposition defense and get in goal-scoring positions. Works best when combined with an attacking fullback or wingback. Right. Okay. This sounds like a winger role. Okay, second striker. The second striker operates as one of the team's main goal-scoring threats. In early phases of attack, the second striker positions between the opposition midfield and defense in pockets of space. But as play progresses up the pitch, they aggressively push into the forward line in order to get into goal-scoring positions as the ball moves into the final third. As the name implies, it's most commonly utilized in formations with a lone forward. That's not what the name implies at all, but okay. Channel forward's a high-energy role that looks to constantly be a thorn in defenders' sides, regularly make... So this is kind of like advanced forward a little bit. Regularly making runs into the channels for their team. When their team are attacking, the channel forward looks to be a constant runner, offering for direct balls down the channels or in behind using pace and tenacity to test the opposition defense. Love these. The like second striker's fun, right? Different than a deep lying forward and definitely different than a false nine. Channel forward, very aggressive, running into channels. That's cool. That's awesome. We love that. Yeah, the name implies it goes behind another striker. I think that might have they just miswrote that. But again, this isn't like a final thing. This is obviously not something they released. This is something that they found in the game files. The center forward, also typically known as the classic number 9, is expected to lead the line and spearhead attacking moves. Primary duty is to be the focal point of attacking moves, and they're required to both score and create goals for their team. So that's just complete forward. Central outlet center forward. So this is like a defensive role. Center forward's asked to avoid tracking back to help defenders, instead looking to hold the position and be dangerous in the counter. Because they don't do defensive work, you got to cover behind them. So this is just probably what you would set if you have defensive roles. This is what you would set your striker on every time. Almost. Splitting outlet center forward is going to be the same thing. The player looks to drift into channels, though, as the offensive attack develops. Tracking center forward is a center forward that actually tracks back a little bit with the ball. So if you had like a 4-4-2, you'd have one of your guys on tracking center forwards, that your defense isn't just leaving two strikers up there. Because in the modern game, that's kind of a death sentence, right? Poacher is poacher and target forward's target. I mean, those don't change. There's always a poacher. There's always a target forward somewhere. Too many, surely? Nah, I actually think there's going to end up being less. Even though this whole list, right, that we've just gone through has all of these roles on it, I think it will end up feeling like there are actually less roles, right? Because I agree with the assessment that it looks like, you know, some of these roles, they're just focused on defense in the description. Some of them, they're just focused on offense, right? I agree that it would be challenging to create as many roles as you used to have in a position, but have them work. Like, you're only going to have 3 or 4 offensive, 3 or 4 defensive options instead of just 8 options, right? Which feels like the same number or more options, but in reality, if you just have 3 or 4 offensive options, 3 or 4 defensive options, I think it's going to feel limited. I think over time, if they live in this system where it's offensive and defensive, then they're going to add more offensive roles, more defensive roles. But at the start, it's really going to be like, oh, you have a midfielder. They can do one of these 3 things on offense and one of these 4 things on defense. Sounds like this list is incomplete. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, chat? There's the actual JSON file right there. Nice. It's blocked. Probably, I'm assuming, because the original post was deleted, and I am assuming FMDB has been patched as well, so it's not there anymore. They've tried to cover their tracks as well as they possibly could. I'm glad this person found this. I'm glad we have some knowledge of the, maybe to say the extent, some knowledge of the extent of the overhaul of the game that they're looking to do, you know? I like it. There's a couple of the roles that I really, really, really like. I think all of the stuff with the wingbacks is super fun. I like the variety they've given to goalkeepers. All of a sudden, you got ball-playing goalkeepers and stuff. I'm excited for the one time I use an overlapping center back and it goes horribly. I think that's going to be just a ton of fun. I love screening defensive midfielder. Absolutely love screening defensive midfielder. The chat time will tell if this is true or not. It looks like it is, obviously. I told you I tracked it all the way back to the source, which was this forum post where they pulled the JSON file and organized all the roles. I'm excited. I think attacking and defending roles are long overdue. It's hard to encapsulate modern football in just the one role. And adding more... I think there's more, even though it's going to feel like there's less options, I think there's more variability in what you can ask players to do based off these roles. And that's really exciting.